People often imagine that leaving happens suddenly, that there is a moment where everything collapses at once, where you wake up and know you can't stay anymore. That wasn't how it happened for me. Nothing broke loudly. Nothing demanded attention. Things just wore thin. Days began to feel heavier than the one before. Not because they were harder, but because they felt empty. I would wake up already tired. Not from work, but from repetition. From conversations that never went anywhere. From rooms that felt crowded but hollow. It wasn't sadness exactly. It was erosion. And erosion doesn't announce itself. It just keeps going. I didn't tell anyone I was leaving. Not because I wanted mystery. Not because I wanted to disappear. I just didn't have the strength to explain a feeling that didn't have sharp edges. People understand anger. They understand fear. They don't understand quiet exhaustion. So I packed what I could carry. Tools I trusted. Clothes I could layer. Nothing sentimental. Memories are heavy when you're trying to stay upright. The forest didn't welcome me. It didn't need to. It just existed. Tall, unbothered, unimpressed. When I stepped beneath the trees, the sound of the world softened. Wind moved through branches like breath through lungs. The ground absorbed my footsteps. For the first time in a long while, nothing was demanding my attention. That silence didn't feel empty. It felt neutral. And neutrality felt like relief. I walked longer than I planned. Not looking for beauty. Looking for invisibility. Places that are too comfortable attract people. Paths, clearings, flat ground. I avoided those. I chose uneven soil. Roots breaking through the surface. Ground that would make others keep walking. When I finally stopped, it wasn't because the place felt special. It felt forgettable. And that mattered. I knelt and brushed away leaves with my hands. The soil beneath was dark, damp, cold. Cold enough to bite into my skin. That shock anchored me. It reminded me I was still here. Still physical. Still capable of feeling something immediate. I pressed my palm into the ground. And held it there longer than necessary. Then I stood up. Took the shovel. And broke the surface. The first dig is always clumsy. The shovel catches roots. The ground refuses to cooperate. Each lift of soil feels heavier than it should. There's no rhythm yet. No efficiency. Just resistance. The pile beside the hole grew slowly. Uneven. Unimpressive. I stopped often, leaning on the handle, watching my breath fog the air. Not pushing. Survival isn't about speed. It's about listening. As the hole deepened, the world changed. Above ground, the forest felt open. Below it narrowed. Light filtered down in thinner lines. Sound softened. The earth holds sound differently. Every movement feels closer. Every breath louder. Time slowed. Not because it stopped, but because nothing distracted me from it. That focus was unfamiliar and comforting. At some point, I climbed out and stood looking down at what I'd started. Mud streaked my clothes. Hands numb. Arms aching. That was the moment I understood. This wasn't temporary. Digging a hole can be undone. Digging a room means commitment. I thought about leaving. About how easy it would be to walk away. Then the wind cut through my jacket. Sharp and immediate. And the decision settled quietly. I climbed back in. Digging underground teaches patience in a way nothing else does. You can't rush earth. You can't argue with it. Each movement changes balance. Each strike carries consequence. I shaped the space slowly. Carved steps into the wall to keep my footing. The soil smelled rich and old. It felt like touching something that had waited a long time. I worked until my hands trembled, then stopped. Rest is not weakness. It's part of survival. The walls needed reinforcement. Earth alone collapses eventually. Always. I searched for fallen trees nearby. Ones already broken by time or storms. I didn't want to leave scars. Each log was heavier than it looked. Cold seeped through my sleeves. As I carried them back, I laid them beside the pit carefully. Measured them with my eyes. Wood against soil is a negotiation. One side always wants to move. Stacking the logs took time. Adjusting angles. Listening for stress. You learn to hear failure before it happens. A shift. A dull groan. I paused often just to listen. That listening became a habit. In the forest, sound is information. Rain came without warning. At first it was gentle. Almost pleasant. Then it thickened. Drops drummed against leaves. Then began to find their way down. Water pooled faster than I expected. Mud clung to everything. I scrambled to cover the opening with branches and bark. Hands slick, movements rushed. Rain underground sounds different. Every drop feels personal. I pressed myself against the wall, knees drawn in, listening as water tested every choice I'd made. That was the first night fear stayed longer than confidence. The rain didn't stop quickly. It soaked into everything. When it finally eased, steam rose from the ground like breath, the earth releasing what it couldn't hold. I drained water by hand. Cold burned my fingers raw. That night, I slept sitting up, shivering. No dreams, just waiting. The next days blurred. More reinforcement, more careful adjustments. I carried stones from the stream one by one. Stone teaches respect. You place it wrong, remembers. I lined the base carefully. Weight where weight mattered. The shelter slowly learned how to stand. The roof was the hardest part, not because it was complicated, but because it had to disappear. I measured beams twice, lowered them slowly. Any mistake here would trap me. Then came layers. What? Bark, leaves, soil returned gently. When I climbed out and stepped back, the forest looked untouched. No sign of work, no disturbance. Felt strange, to work so hard just to erase evidence. Inside the space was tight, but tight means warmth. I smoothed the walls with my hands, removed every splinter, adjusted ventilation again and again. Too small and smoke kills you. Too large and winter finds you. Only when the balance felt right did I allow myself to sit. Fire changed everything. I built the pit stone by stone, hands steady as I struck the spark. Fire is not comfort, it's permission. The flame caught slowly. Light filled the space, soft and alive. Warmth reached my fingers first, then my chest. I watched longer than necessary, afraid it would vanish if I looked away. Snow arrived quietly. No warning, no announcement, just a steady hush from above. It sealed the roof, hid everything I'd done. Inside, the shelter held. I boiled water and poured it into a cup. Steam rose slowly. That cup of tea wasn't luxury. It was proof. Proof that I could still care for myself. Days passed in rhythm. Feed the fire. Let it rest. Sleep lightly. Wake often. The forest shifted above me. Branches cracked under snow. Each sound reminded me how thin safety really is. Loneliness came in waves. Not sadness, absence. The awareness that no one knew I was here. That no one was waiting. But the loneliness here wasn't cruel. It didn't judge. It didn't rush me. It just existed. One night, silence pressed in so hard. It felt physical. No wind. No movement. I held my breath without noticing. Then the fire cracked softly, and I exhaled. Morning light filtered faintly through the trees. The forest looked unchanged. Down below, warmth lingered. I added wood. Watched the flame respond. Predictability is comforting when everything else feels uncertain. I don't know how long I'll stay. This isn't an ending. It's a pause. A place to remember who I was, before everything became too loud. Above me, the forest sleeps under snow. Below, I sit quietly, warm, alive. Sometimes survival isn't about strength. Sometimes it's about finding a place that lets you breathe long enough to remember how to live again. And for now, this is enough.